It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
It's Gary without Steph this morning. Good morning, everyone. It's Gary K. It is Wednesday, September 3rd. I had to look over to the date and make sure it was September 3rd. And Steph is literally in an airplane on her way to Cydia right now. Cydia is the dedicated home AV show for all the products introduced that are home AV kind of products. So in any case, she's on the way to the show, and I've been eating my breakfast here. So I think I got spilled some breakfast on me here as I was eating it. How's that? She's on the way to the show, and actually she did a great interview with Ray Kent of Save that I want you to watch, but I'm gonna put that at the end of the show today in case you're really busy, because I want to make sure you have a chance to see all the news that we have today. But if you're interested in Cydia, like I said, it's a home AV show, so it's like Infocom for residential stuff. You can see all of our coverage at ravepubs.com/Cydia Expo. You can always go to our website at ravepubs.com and click on the trade shows, and you can see them. She's going to be there doing interviews, shooting videos, and we'll cover the show the best we possibly can. What's interesting about this show is this was a show that has been a combination of a new show, which was a Commercial Integrator Expo and Cydia, and I see all the press releases that come in for all the events because I'm in the list of people that it gets sent to, among others here. I am surprised at how few news releases. I can't even remember more than 3 that were sent about Commercial Integrator Expo. The great majority are about Cydia. So I'm wondering if they will have that show after this year. I'm wondering if they'll just use the Cydia branding and just have it all part of Cydia. I have no idea. We'll see. And we'll get a report from Steph while she's there at the show. Hopefully she'll do a little bit of a show floor tour that we can use maybe at next week's show as some B-roll to talk about the show. But right off the bat, we couldn't do this show. We do this weekly. We come on live every week at 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's because we want to make sure we're live for all of our followers in Europe or the EMEA overall, in addition to the US. We also restream it at noon every day Eastern, which is 9 a.m. West Coast time, for our California and Nevada and Arizona customers that are a little bit later than the rest of us. We can't do this show without our sponsors. We have 2 big ones. Shure, obviously. Check this out. I'm using a Shure mic. And Crestron. And Crestron came out with the Flex Pods at or I should say, more Flex Pods at Infocom earlier this year. Now they're shipping them. So check these out. All right, so check those Flex Pods out. Kind of a unique solution from Crestron for the UC market. We got a little bit of everything today. First off, for those of you, I talked about the EMEA market. For those of you in the EMEA, you may be interested to know, and maybe you already know this, that Photophone, which is spelled F-O-T-O-P-H-O-N-O, and Display Systems, they are merging. They're both Norwegian companies, and they're going to form a mega company in Norway for AV systems. Speaking of other mergers, again, you can see all these stories at ravepubs.com. Speaking of other mergers or acquisitions, AVI SPL announced that they purchased the CCS Southwest division of CCS. That story will be up today. That's big news. AVI SPL is just getting bigger. I think a lot of people knew that that division of CCS was for sale. So I don't think it was a secret. I think it's interesting how more and more companies are now making it obvious that they're interested in being acquired or being part of an acquisition. I think that shows the maturity of the market. It's kind of a normal thing that you see happen, when a market kind of grows to the level of our market. But anyway, that AVI SPL acquisition of CCS Southwest. CCS is kind of a different kind of integrator because they were a franchise organization from the very beginning, and so that's an interesting acquisition there, I think. But in any case, let's see what other news we have. Let's talk about Biamp for just a second, because Biamp is actually finally shipping their ViDi Connect Cam 250, which is the whiteboard camera that they have. So that product is available. That, again, is used in any room where a whiteboard is important for the remote viewers to actually see the content. It's automatically always shooting the whiteboard. So anytime someone goes up and writes on it, it'll automatically switch as an input source on a Zoom or Teams call. And it actually can be installed with big whiteboards up to 12 feet. So you don't have to be using one of the small ones in a room. So yeah, that's shipping now. In other news, Extron actually is also shipping their new 8K distribution amplifiers with audio embedding and de-embedding. So these are pretty cool because these are just plain old HDMI connectors. So real simple to use. You plug HDMI in, you're going to get 2 HDMI outputs, and then you can pull the audio off of it. Because as you know, you can embed audio in HDMI, pull the audio off so you can route the audio separately through an audio system and keep the video separate from that. So this is good in an application where, for example, in a classroom, you have distributed audio, but you also have program audio. You can send the program audio to the speakers in the front and have the distributed audio go through the speakers above where people are sitting. Or in a home theater application, right? Or a home AV application as well. This would be a great product. And it is 8K capable, which means that, you're buying something now that's future proof. That story is on our website. Let's see, what other stories did I write up this week? Magnetar, which is a home AV company known for their media players, which are basically like high-end Apple TV, like super high-end Apple TV type devices, right? But they also provide signal routing and distribution as well. They introduced 2 new improved versions. They had the previous version, and now they've improved the previous version to I don't want to go over all the model numbers because there's a whole lot of letters and numbers in these model numbers, and you can see them on our website. But it's part of the MK2 series, and they can handle any kind of HDMI source, whether it's coming from Blu-ray, whether it's coming from another set-top box, or whether it's coming off the air, even SACD sources, 4K resolution. Also has USB 3 ports, so you can actually plug a laptop straight into it as well. Again, those are designed specifically for high-end home theaters. The audio playback format is a 768 kilohertz. That's not the kind of thing we need in Pro AV, obviously. And of course, it is HDMI as well. A lot of HDMI products today. In other news related to our industry, Stage Precision has joined the Open AV Cloud Initiative. You may remember that we broke the news about the Open AV Cloud Initiative right before InfoComm, which strives to make sure that everyone has an API that everyone can access. It's a nonprofit organization. Nobody's benefiting from this, and everyone is benefiting from this, because if we all have open APIs, we can control each other's gear. We can send signals across the network anywhere we want them to go, and so on and so forth. So Stage Precision joining that. They're one of the first companies that has a lot of live, events products as well. So I think you'll see some other news coming from some of those other companies out there as well. Savant who will have a big booth at Cydia. They're always one of the bigger manufacturers at Cydia. And you may know them as being the first. They were the first company in the home AV market, in any market, to have a control system that's Apple based. So you use the Apple OS as a control system, like using Mac Minis. Well, they now also have products that compete with like Tesla and their battery storage systems for your home. So in case you lose power, you can still run the house. Or if you don't want to run your power off of native power coming from the power grid, they have a new version of the OS for that. And they've added virtual power plant capabilities, which means that you could actually share it with your neighbors and do some other cool things too. But those start around $10,000. They'll be showing those at Cydia this week. And I hope Steph will go by their booth because they always have some cool stuff. Theory Audio Design introduced the PLC series loudspeaker controllers. Obviously, Theory is a high-end audio company. These are amplified controllers, by the way. They are 2 8-channel units and 2 4-channel units. So there's a couple of different options there. They also say that they're also going to aim these at the high-end residential market as well. Now, these are specifically designed for commercial, large venue, and live event applications, but they're going to aim them at the residential market. So they'll be at Cydia showing those. But what's interesting about this is they have one has 8 channels with 500 watts. They have one that's 8 channels and 1,000 watts, one with 4 channels and 2,250 watts, and another one with 4 channels and 4,000 watts, all in a 1 RU form factor. So you should check out the specs and the details of that on our website at ravepubs.com. And like I said to you up early in the show, that we can't do a show like this without having the awesomeness of our sponsors. Already told you about Crestron. Well, Shure strives to make audio as good as it can possibly be. So I want you to check this out because I agree with them that good audio isn't good enough anymore. So check this out and you'll learn why. That is one heck of an audio track on that video. Kudos to them for being bold. All right, we have Launch Week coming up next month. Launch Week 12, our 12th edition of Launch Week. We've been doing this since 2020. It's kind of become like our own little conference where people get together and exchange ideas, talk about new products, technology, and how it's affecting their business. It is going to be 3 days, October 28th, 29th, 30th. So you can still make it to Halloween on the 31st. You don't have to worry about this. We're going to have 3 different days: Experiential Signage Day on the first day, the 28th, EdTech Day, the second day, the 29th, and ProAV the 30th, I believe. Ultimately, All days are approved for 3 CTS, which means you can get 9 CTSs total. To register for Launch Week, just go to launch.com, spelled LAVNCH.com, because how else would you spell it? And you can sign up for Launch Week 12, and you can be part of it. And I'm going to be presenting a keynote on EdTech Day. And yeah, I'm excited about Launch Week 12. I'm excited about our team putting this together. And I want to basically end our show today with Steph's interview about SAVE. And SAVE, they're going to talk about SAVE 2025, the organization's annual conference promoting sustainability in AV. And I know a lot of us don't pay attention to this stuff, and a lot of us say we don't care about this stuff, but it does affect our industry because there are a number of states that have laws that require you to do things with AV equipment. For example, in standby mode, for example, having standby mode, amplifiers, audio amplifiers being in standby mode, drawing less than 1 watt of power as an example. And we're responsible for that kind of stuff. But in addition to that, how to get rid of products once you're finished, you sunset them, you finish with them. You don't just throw them away because there's mercury in a lot of these products and other things like that. So I think this is something that's great for our industry. And you can learn more about it at save.org, SAVE.org. But check out this interview with Steph and Ray Kent of SAVE. And yeah, I'm going to sign out here. I want you to watch this and then have a great rest of your day.
All right. Hey, everyone. As you know, as I've talked about on previous episodes, SAVE 2025 is coming up, and I'm really excited to talk about that with our guest, Ray Kent from SAVE, the organization itself. So Ray, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be here.
So first of all, tell our viewers a little bit about your background and what has kind of like driven your work to be at this intersection of technology and sustainability.
Well, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm sure most people are very familiar with Earth Day and the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act. Well, we have this little river called the Cuyahoga that caught on fire multiple times. And that was really sort of the launching point for a lot of the sustainability efforts in this country, including formation of the Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act. So sustainability has always been, front and center in my life because of living here, but also, my family, my father in particular, grew up during the Great Depression. So, you saved everything, you recycled everything, you didn't throw anything out, right? So it was something that was always, just sort of right there. And those types of efforts have always just come easy and naturally to me. And then, working in the performing arts for most of my career, almost 4 decades now, sustainability has always been a big driver there because you reduce, reuse, recycle in theater, oftentimes because you don't have money, right? So you're going to reuse everything you can.
Yeah.
So, and then when I became a consultant, really kind of delving into this, it's been over 2 decades now of involvement through what was then Infocom and the rAVe task force with Scott Walker and others like that. And then getting involved in writing the STEP rating system through all of that fun stuff, and then becoming the chair of the technical advisory committee for the STEP Foundation, writing for rAVe publications for many years, as you know, including also writing the blog for Avixa and Infocom on sustainability with Brad Grimes. So I've been heavily involved in this. And then when the STEP rating system was kind of shelved for a variety of reasons, I still participated as much as I could writing into our specifications, having those conversations with clients and everything else. And then I had a dear friend of mine, another fellow board member, John Thomas, saw a LinkedIn post of his about SAVE. I said, I need to be part of this group.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Christina DeBono and said, I need to be on your board. And she's like, no, wait, that's how it works. I said, so I flew out to California. We met. Now I'm on the board and helping, SAVE further the mission. Nice. I'm also back involved with Avixa on the sustainability task force through Avixa and on the subcommittee for that as well. So still knee deep in it.
Perfect. We hear the word sustainability. It's thrown around a lot these days. What does that actually mean in both like the AV and like the live events world, like you mentioned? Like, what does that mean?
Well, most people, when they think about it, they think, just about, green design or recycling or things like that. But it's
Yeah.
really about people, profit, planet, the triple P. And coming from an architecture side of the world, working for a large architecture firm for, again, almost 2 decades, that had a heavy focus on sustainability. That was really how we approached it, right? It's more about, just thinking about green. It's thinking about, you know, corporations want to be profitable, right? They want to be
Mhm.
sustainable. Sustainable can mean longevity, not just, the company wants to be around for a long time, right? So how do you position your clients and organizations in a way that they can be profitable, that they can be around for a long time, that their people can be happy and satisfied and healthy and all those other things,
Yeah.
and protect the environment and the planet and all that other stuff. So
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. So, Save the conference is going to be September 24th and 25th. 25th, I think, is a half day, and that is going to be at UCLA. Very exciting.
Mhm.
Why is this conference such an important moment for the industry?
Well, sustainability, it's been really great to see, has really come front and center again,
Hmm.
uh, which is really needed, right? We know that there's all sorts of things going on, like a silica shortage and cobalt shortage and other raw materials that make the electronics that we like to design and buy and install and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Plus the growing e-waste problem,
Yeah.
right, is huge. So being able to actually meet with like-minded people and people who are sustainable curious, I will say, is really good. So it really helps inform and educate. SAVE in particular focuses heavily on the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is not as well known in the United States as it is, say, maybe over in Europe or Asia or other markets. So it's a lot about education and providing information. For example, working on design guidelines and we have the SAVE certification and Save a Second Life and things like that. So it's really about getting the message out, helping people understand how they can contribute. Because what I have found in doing this is most people just don't even know where to start, right?
Yeah.
And they see
Yeah.
this massive project, or problem that they have to solve, and
Yeah.
starting with little things, little steps, even makes a big impact. It's like the butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
One little wing flap can take ripples across the world. So
That makes a lot of sense. I think, yeah, when you look at the sustainable, like the goals for 2030, I think that like you start, at least I start panicking because I'm like, how am I supposed to fix all that? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I think that that's a very common feeling. So then you just don't do anything, which isn't the answer either. You don't have to fix it all by yourself. I think that it's all about like knowing how to put practices in place at your organization that can kind of help push those goals forward.
yeah. And then I think if I go back to what I said earlier about people, profit, and planet,
Yeah.
right? Um, if you align your thinking to um, those three tenets. I don't know if you remember back, I think it was 2013, an article that I wrote called The Soft Sell of a Hard Topic that I wrote for rAVe Publications. And it was really about working with clients to identify what are their top goals,
Hmm.
right? Sustainability may be one of them, but usually it's, they want to improve operational efficiency, they want to improve profitability,
Yeah.
lower costs, improve employee satisfaction. Those are all great goals, right?
Yeah.
But how do you do that in a way that is sustainable for the people, sustainable for their profit, and
Mhm.
sustainable for the environment? And you can work with them to hit all of those metrics in a better way, in a different way. And what it really takes sometimes is just rethinking the problem, and coming up with a novel solution. It might mean that you're changing how you've always done things, and that's not always a bad thing, right?
Hmm.
uh, Coming from the theater world, which
Yeah.
is steeped in thousands of years of tradition, it's very hard sometimes to get people out of their comfort zone
Right.
and think a little bit differently. I also do a lot of work on accessibility, and it's kind of the same thing, right? And
Yeah.
Why do we always have to have stairs and an elevator? Why can't we just have a very nicely designed ramp that everybody can use, right? Sustainability is very much the same thing. How do we have programs and processes in place and training and all that other stuff that help people think about the problem in a different way, very much in a design thinking mentality?
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. So you have seen the full program for the conference, I'm guessing.
Yep.
If you had to highlight one or two sessions that you, in your opinion, people really cannot miss these two, which ones would you point to?
Oh, there's so much great content. I hope folks do come, and we've got a lot of people that have already committed to coming. So if you haven't registered yet, register quickly because it's going to fill up. But the keynote speakers are amazing. We have the CEO from Shure talking about Shure
I'm so
sustainability.
excited.
That's one that I would definitely urge people to go see. We have Michael Blackman, the executive director for ISE, is going to be doing a video address. It's going to be a short one, but still a video address on how sustainability leads innovation. When I was at ISE this past February, I was an adjudicator for a hackathon on sustainability at ISE,
Nice.
which was amazing to participate in and really see how the rest of the world views sustainability and how the innovation can happen along that way. And so that's definitely one I wouldn't miss. But then on the second day, we have a whole series of workshops, everything from, if you're from overseas, how can you become a SAVE ambassador, the sustainable AV design installation guidelines that we've talked about, as well as SAVE and the Manufacturers Council. There's a lot for everybody who comes, whether you're a consultant like myself, a manufacturer, an end user. If you can't find anything to go to, you're not trying
hard enough.
No, you can stumble over anything, and I think you're going to find value out of all of it.
Absolutely.
So this is our second year of it. Last year was amazing and very insightful, and I think just the programming this year is even deeper and even more informative, and I really hope people do come.
Yes, I'm very excited. I'm moderating a panel this year
Great.
with the SAVE ambassadors, kind of talking about that program and why it's important. So I'm excited that this is my second year being involved. And yeah, if you are watching this and you want to come, again, it is September 24th and 25th at UCLA. And if you are an Avixa member, you are eligible for 20% off that event ticket. So go to saveav.org and go to register, and then use the code AVIXA 2025 for 20% off of your order. So I hope to see you there. Ray, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing you in UCLA. So.
Same. And I hope to see all of you out there watching there as well. So thanks again, and I'm going to toss it back to you, Gary.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.